Chair and fellow speakers, trains that changed the world. This was the title of a TV programme we decided to watch. And as I listened, I began to burn like a steam engine, hotter and hotter. And if it had been real coal burning inside me, I would have had steam coming out of my ears. Because although all the facts in this programme were correct, the reason I was getting so wound up was that it was very biased. And it was biased because it portrayed the train revolution as something that was wonderful, something that was good. So I'm going to share with you why I disagree. They talked about faster travel. Yes, it was great. You could get from one place to another much quicker than what was horse and cart or the few cars that might have been around then. But what has that done to our society? We're travelling so fast, we can almost get all the way around the world and catch up with ourselves. That might seem good sometimes, but actually it means we're so stressed, we don't even know when to stop anymore. That's how ridiculous this idea of speed and doing everything faster has become. So difficult it is for us now to just pause. It was great because it meant communities could mix. And yes, I agree, that's great for the gene pool. Because I don't know if you're aware, but if you don't mix the genes, you start going a bit doolally. But that meant that these communities started losing their identity and their traditions. And that has led to us now invading the Amazon and portraying that our way of life is much better than theirs. So I disagree that the trains were so good in bringing communities together. There were no longer local products. The products could travel all the way from Cornwall to Edinburgh if they wanted, just overnight. How wonderful that was to have fresh food when you live right in the middle of England and you want fish. But that has led to food travelling all the way from New Zealand to England. Strawberries are now available all year round, along with tomatoes and cucumbers and everything else that wouldn't even grow in England. That is actually really bad for us as humans. We're meant to be growing or eating local food in season. Time was standardised. There's no more London time, Swindon time and Cardiff time. So much so that we don't even recognise our own time anymore. Again, because we're rushing. We've lost sense of when's the right time for me to do something? Do I have to be really good first thing in the morning, which seems to be what everybody says? Eat that frog first thing in the morning. That's when you're at your best. Actually, I disagree. I'm not at my best first thing in the morning. I'm much better in the evening after my dinner. I don't know why. I always have been. That's when I used to hide between the beds and do my homework. That's my time. But if I follow standard time, that means I have to go to school at a set time. That means I have to do my homework at a set time. I have to be at a job at a set time. But if you listen to Roberto Semler, he decided to create a company where there is minimal rules. And people are self-reliant, and they've got to figure out at what time they come to work and what time they leave, and when they have their holidays. Absolutely fascinating talk. So you can watch that. There's a TED talk. And all this travelling faster means we're crossing time zone, and that really messes with people's brains. And we've got somebody here who really knows about that. So, this train revolution, was it really that good? And I believe it destroyed lives. It's destroying land because the trains were going right across farmland, right across communities. Is that really good for us? That's what this program was saying. Trains are wonderful. Actually, it harms lives so much that my husband's possibly great-grandfather, who was one of the first locomotive engineers, got killed by a train. Was that really good for his life? And you've probably all heard of the other train disasters. So, despite the progress of the Industrial Revolution and the revolution of these trains, I'm ready for a completely different kind of revolution. One where we regain our own sense of time, where we slow down, where we become local, and where we regain this sense of community and family, where we're not scattered across the globe, so we can look after each other, our family members. That is the real kind of train revolution that I would like to see in this world.
It's question time, folks, question time.
Now, there are people who do like...
Let's keep the clock on.
No, it's finished.
No, I turned it off and I thought, oh,
Yeah.
start that.
Yeah. There are people who like to travel on a train as a leisurely pursuit. So, I had probably taken that on board. Because they're actually looking out the window. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. What's that?
And that's only become leisurely because they
Well, the
realise
Victorians-
how fast the planes are going and you can't see much.
Yeah, well, the Victorians did a lot of pleasure travelling.
Yeah.
They didn't use it for commuting, they did it for a lot of
Yeah.
leisure. Because there was already a freight line there. So someone had a smart idea, let's put some seats on a train and then let's go to the seaside. So we've grown past that, but we still have it.
Yeah.
Not on an everyday basis.
You do remember that Victorians had this fear that if the train was doing more than 40, it would suck the insides of women out.
Just women.
Just the women. Much more fragile than the men.
Yeah, but it was the same with the first cars. They had to have somebody with a flag walking in front of the car.
Yeah.
Even though it was going slower than a horse galloping, which seems a bit peculiar, but hey.
Well, it meant that you could control the growth of the car industry so that your horses and carriages still made money. That's the way it is. Go on, George.
Does your train revolution include the underground in London and the tramways in Manchester? Would you abolish all?
Oh, I'm not saying we need to abolish the train. We just need to not lose everything that happened having had the train by coming back to a more educated approach to what's happened to our lives and becoming more local. That doesn't mean you don't necessarily use a car or a plane, but actually thinking about it a bit more before thinking, oh, how quickly can I get there? More about, well, what's the journey and how might I process the information during that journey?
I think that is a whole society mindset change.
That's why it's a revolution. It's not just a little...
Some people would just think, well, I do the leisurely bit on the weekends.
And why is not all life like that?
Because it's just not human nature to do that.
I don't know. If you look at the people in the tribes, the way they were in their natural setting before all this other train revolution came along, then they would walk down to the water and they would come back and they would have a chat and they wouldn't necessarily need to go to rush to work, sit on the desk and then come back and have to rush to the gym to go and get their workout. They'd already had their workout and they were only eating local food and going to pickets. So they weren't going to have all this convenient food that suddenly appeared from across the other side of the world that was going to make them obese.
But that's also to come from the other side of the world. That involves ships as well, or planes nowadays, and not just the trains.
But it was that,
all transport.
yeah. So it's that train revolution. The fact that we got the trains and we got them faster, and it did all that. Then that meant, we then need faster than that. And so we got the trains to go even faster, and then we got the planes and the cars. And the program was implying this revolution was good for us, not realising actually it's going to cause huge amounts of stress in 100 years later.
Suddenly it's gone the other way now, where trains are considered more eco-friendly.
Yeah.
Because you get loads of people on them instead of anybody in the shuttle box. So it's sort of...
It's not just about the
if you look at the tribes as being the paradise, though, look at the global population.
I'm not saying it's paradise. I'm just saying there's that whole concept, that way of life.
But it's a very small part of the global population who are living that way, because the rest of them are on train.
Can I say, I've just realised you're agree I'm living local. Absolutely living local, because we get the groceries delivered by Tesco, and everything else I get comes from Amazon. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, don't rush around.
Sorry,
I get known that because I say things like that.
I'm okay now.
It's either Tesco's or Amazon.
Yeah, it's been a revelation.
We're going to have to hold it there, I'm afraid, because time is running
You
out.
wanted to tell her, right?
So we now need to make a vote as to whether Julie persuaded us or informed us or didn't. So would you like to raise your hands for those who did think she did all right? And who didn't think she did all right?
Well, there's a difference in saying all right.
You have to be one way or the other.
Well, did she persuade you or inform you? If she didn't persuade you or inform you, then you're a no. But if she did persuade you that the train revolution was what it is, then it's a yes. So we'll try that again. Shall we go for the yeses first? 1, 2. And those who didn't think she did. Okay, Julie, you didn't.
I didn't.
I'm terribly sorry, but you didn't quite make it. You didn't quite make it, I'm afraid.